There's a buck flying around. How is everybody doing this morning? I'm doing great, thank you. Folks, I'm excited to get on. I'm excited to get on for a couple reasons. This is one of my favorite subjects to talk about because it affects most everybody that I love and care about. Folks, insulin resistance is a real thing. If you have diabetes, if you have PCOS, if you have sleep apnea, if you have migraines, if you have headaches, if you have excessive gain, belly fat, if you're trying to lose weight and you can't, if you got neuropathy, retinopathy, these are all signs of insulin resistance. Charlie. And what I'm going to share today is something that literally affects 93% of us. So before we get started, I want to know where you guys are tuning in from. So if you wouldn't mind, drop your location in the chat. And if you know somebody who needs to hear this, feel free to share this live with them so that they could hop on, they could listen, they can ask questions. I love getting on here. And if you're struggling with your health in some way today, this information could change your life. And if there's somebody that you love and care about that needs to hear this, feel free to share this live with them so that they can jump in, they can listen, they can ask questions too. Okay. I'm going to share some things that are personal, and I pray that it helps you to avoid the mistakes that I've made. Solomon said in the Bible, in all you're gaining, gain understanding. And let me tell you, when you understand insulin resistance, it changes everything. Here's the deal, my friends. If you want to make a big impact in business or life, you need to be able to solve a major problem. And right now, the biggest health issue in the world is insulin resistance. And over the past 2 years, I've been able to reverse my insulin resistance. It's completely transformed my life. I couldn't keep this to myself. So now I'm on a mission to share everything I've learned and help as many people as I can. And if you haven't heard of insulin resistance, I encourage you to Google it and research it, because this is going to be a hot health topic for years to come. So, I was told that I had stage 4 kidney disease. And I was told that if I didn't lose weight, and this was 7 years after donating a kidney, right? Some of you know my story. Some of you know that I donated a kidney to my sister's husband, and I'm super grateful for that, right? What an amazing opportunity to be able to do that. I'm honored that I was able to give my kidney to my brother-in-law. It's been a blessing. And how many other people around me that I drive past, I walk past, that are struggling with their health. I donated a kidney, and to be told 7 years after donating a kidney that I had stage 4 kidney disease, and that if I didn't lose weight and if I didn't change my diet, things like that, that I would end up on dialysis or worse. It freaked me out. It scared me. But instead of giving up, I decided to fight back. So I learned about insulin resistance, and I'm so grateful for a friend who cared enough about me to share something that would forever change my life. And Norma Estrada, thank you so much for tapping the screen. Thank you for that. So, I've lost 32 pounds. I had migraine headaches that I had for 23 years that are gone. I have acid reflux that is gone, brain fog, anxiety, depression, sleep apnea, all of these things improved. And the crazy thing is, 5 months, when I went back to my nephrologist, my kidney doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. Let me ask you this. If you had a solution to the problem of insulin resistance, whose life would you share this with? Where would the impact be? Who would you help? And if you've ever been told, ladies and gentlemen, that you can't fix it or that there's no way out, don't believe it. I'm living proof that your body can heal when you give it the right support. Now, what is insulin resistance, right? How do we know what it is? And you may have heard of it, but it's often glossed over, right? And I'm hoping to just give you a synopsis of it. How many of you have skin tags, skin issues, psoriasis, eczema, adult acne? Maybe the dark patches of skin that won't wash off, right? How many of you have skin issues? How many of you have high blood pressure or cholesterol issues? How many of you struggle with your weight? How many of you have the excess weight that you can't lose no matter what you try? The belly fat, right? The protruding belly, the love handles are getting bigger. Okay. How many of you feel like you're experiencing that? How many of you are pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic? Okay. All of these things are caused by insulin resistance. And ladies and gentlemen, far too often what we are doing is we're throwing medications at our symptoms, but the medications don't fix the root cause. All we're doing is putting a Band-Aid on it. And I want you guys to understand that you actually can reverse the symptoms of insulin resistance. And if you've ever been told that you just simply can't, I want you guys to understand that that's just simply not true. I have seen more people in my life improve type 2 diabetes. I've seen more people improve their health in ways that calorie restriction diets just doesn't work. You know, when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease, that was the first thing that my doctor did. Excuse me, was prescribe medication. Medications are not the answer to the root problem. Okay, you might put a Band-Aid on it. You're masking the symptoms. But I think about this. Here is the science, ladies and gentlemen, why insulin resistance happens. See, every time you and I eat, especially carbs and sugar, what happens is our blood sugar spikes. Okay? And that triggers the release of insulin. Insulin is what helps your body to absorb the glucose from the foods that you eat, right? But over time, if we're eating all the time, and if we're eating too much sugar and too many carbs, we're snacking all the time, what happens is that your body starts to resist insulin. That is what insulin resistance is. It causes this cycle of insulin resistance, and what it does is it causes the cycle of medications, okay? So when insulin can't get the sugar into your cells effectively, it starts getting stored in places like your liver, your tissue, right? It starts getting stored in places where it shouldn't be, like your joints, okay? Even your brain, okay? And it causes a lot of issues. It can lead to arthritis. It can lead to brain fog. It can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia, high blood pressure, cholesterol problems, right? And at that point, that's when your doctor wants to put you on a statin, right? This is why managing insulin is so crucial for your health. It's basic biology. You know what? And what happens? It's kind of like having kids. Hey, Charlie. It's kind of like having kids, right? You tell your kids to do something a couple times, and at some point they stop listening to you, right? And what happens is that we yell louder. Well, our pancreas is what's secreting the insulin, right? And it starts yelling louder. It starts pumping out more and more and more insulin. The warning signs start to happen, folks, right? You start to get high cholesterol, you get high triglycerides, you get LDL, which is fatty liver disease. Okay, you start to also get PCOS, ladies, like my friend's wife had for 20 years, right? Your blood pressure starts to go up. Your joints start to hurt. Some of us just chalk it up to the fact that we're getting older. Okay, aging does not have to mean a slowing metabolism, right? I want you guys to think about something for just a second, okay? What if instead of chasing the symptoms, we tackle the one thing that's causing them all. That would make the most sense, right? But the reality is that is not what's happening in our healthcare system. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I think about this. I live in Mesa, Arizona, and just right up the street is a massive cemetery. And my dad and my brother are there. And I think about this, right? The graveyard is full of people who thought they had more time. Folks, this is why I do what I do. I help people to understand insulin resistance before it turns into heart disease and diabetes and all these other serious things. And even if you have insulin resistance, ladies and gentlemen, and if you've been told that there's no way out, just don't believe it, because you can. You can improve it. So there's two things that I teach people. Fasting and fiber, right? Two simple things that I help people to understand that if they can incorporate these two things, it can really help you to start improving your health. Right? Folks, how many of us were told to eat 3 meals a day and to snack 2 to 3 times a day? How many of us were given that advice? If you were ever given that advice, now you understand why 93% of our country is metabolically unhealthy. Right? More than half of our country is either pre-diabetic or type 2. That's crazy. And if you're diabetic, folks, I want you guys to understand something, that if you're diabetic, your risk for cardiovascular disease, it goes up 80%. Your risk for Alzheimer's, dementia, goes up by 81%. And folks, if you are a type 2 diabetic and you are injecting insulin as if you were a type 1 diabetic, your risk for heart disease triples. And your risk for the dreadful C word that we're not allowed to say on here, it doubles. Folks, these are not just numbers. These are life-altering truths, which is why I get on here every single day to share something that I know can impact people in a positive way. Now, I use a tool. I use a clinically proven system. It's natural. It's safe. It's made from food, plants and food. And I use this daily. And it's been the easiest thing I've ever done. I don't know about you guys, but I used to meal prep. Okay, how many of you are meal preppers? If you're a meal prepper, type MP in the chat, right? Meal prepping was hard, right? I wouldn't say it's hard, but it's time consuming, right? Counting the calories and the macros and the proteins, which some people do, right? You're separating the protein and the fats and the vegetables and all these things, right? It's exhausting. And any one of us can white knuckle a diet for a couple weeks and we can lose weight, but then we stop that diet and what happens, right? In my opinion, I just don't think diets work long term. I think that they're a great temporary solution, but I don't follow a diet. I just don't think that they work. And so, got to shake this up. Get that mixed up in the bottom. So what I'm sipping on happens to be a yerba mate chlorogenic acid tea. Okay. This tea is, I'm not a tea drinker, but this drink is absolutely amazing. It actually acts as a natural metformin and a natural Ozempic. It's crazy how well this works. Let me ask you this, okay? I'm going to put this in here, and I am curious, when you look at this list, how many of you are struggling with one or more of the things in this list? If you wouldn't mind, if you're struggling with any one of the things, just put a thumbs up in the chat. Skin issues, right? Diabetes, obesity, okay? High blood sugar, okay? PCOS, which 26% of American women have, right? What about erectile dysfunction? We've got men in their 20s that have this. What about sleep apnea, kidney disease, depression, decreased libido? Okay. What about mood swings or skin discoloration or weakened immunity? Okay. What about erectile dysfunction? What about gout or GERD? Okay, liver disease. So I've just named off a few of the symptoms of insulin resistance. Okay, now people have these symptoms, right? These are symptoms of insulin resistance. Now, here's what most people don't realize. Every single one of those symptoms that I just named off is caused by one thing: insulin resistance. And yet, when we go to a doctor, we can be prescribed a different medication for every individual symptom that we have. Folks, why don't we just focus on fixing the root cause? What's causing all of these health issues to begin with? Do you realize that if we just put our focus on that, that we could probably eliminate 90% of the chronic diseases that exist in the world today? It's crazy how many people are affected by these issues. And folks, this is the exact reason why I get on these lives every day. Come rain or shine, I get on these lives every day because I know when you understand what insulin resistance is, and more importantly, what you can start to do in your own life that can start to improve your health. Folks, I wish I knew this information 20 years ago, right? My dad passed away early, and I think about my mom. My mom is 84 years old. She lives in a memory care facility in Tennessee. She's got Alzheimer's and dementia. She doesn't even know where she is half the time. She's on more medications than I can count. And it just breaks my heart that I can't do a thing about it. And I think about the people around me, how many people are struggling with their health and on meds, hoping that they're getting better. And the reality is, we're not getting better. You know, I think about this. And folks, here's the truth, right? Like, the cemetery is full of people who thought they had more time. People who believed that tomorrow was guaranteed. But here's the truth. Right now is the only moment that you actually have. You know, we tell ourselves, tomorrow I'll call, right? Tomorrow I'll apologize to someone. Tomorrow I'll take my health seriously. Sage, you're right. But here's the reality, folks. Tomorrow is never promised. You don't know what this day will bring. You don't know what this year will bring. And thinking that you might be healthy or wealthy, it doesn't make you immune. The graveyard is full of people who thought the exact same thing. So let me ask you something real. When it comes to your health, right? Are you putting that on hold? Is there someone that you've been meaning to reach out? Do it today. Is there someone that, you know, a relationship that needs healing? Start now. You know? And if you've been putting your health on hold, saying I'll deal with this later, later may cost you more than you realize. And that's the problem about procrastination, right? My goal when I get on these lives is you know what I love about this is I get to connect with people literally all over the world. There's people that will come on these lives, and if you wouldn't mind, drop your location so that the people in this live can see where and how far this stretches. Okay? You know, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I live here my whole entire life. You know, I'm actually heading to Provo, Utah. And if you happen to be in the Provo, Utah area, please let me know. Greg's in Texas. You know, my twin sister lives in Utah. And we don't have that good of a relationship. And I wish that we had a better relationship. But tonight, you know, I'm going to dinner with my twin sister and her husband, and I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to, you know, moving forward, right? We can't look back, okay? And folks, I want you guys to understand, that tomorrow is not guaranteed. It's not promised. The best time to change is the moment that you realize you still can. And I think about this and I'm like, you know what? I'm so grateful that I'm so grateful that my friend shared a simple system with me. She didn't even know that I would like it or use it. She just opened her mouth and she shared it with me. And I'm grateful that I was open to doing it. This is one of the reasons why, ladies and gentlemen, insulin resistance is so dangerous. Because it whispers, you've got time, right? You've got time, Troy, right? There's no pain. There's no symptoms at first until one day there's consequences. Think about this, folks. You know that you could have insulin resistance for up to 20 years before your doctor tells you that you have diabetes or diagnoses you with another disease. You guys realize that this fire. I look at insulin resistance like a fire that is burning out of control in your body. See, this fire is burning out of control for a long time. And folks, we can choose to either put that fire out or we can just treat the symptoms, right? Keep pouring the water on the smoke, hoping that the fire gets out. Good morning, Fidan. Well, good afternoon to you, okay? Folks, I am living proof that whether you have stage 4 kidney disease and whether you have migraines, whether you have acid reflux and brain fog and sleep apnea, all of these things can be improved naturally. This is what I've dedicated my life. I made a promise to my Heavenly Father that I would share this with as many people as I possibly could to help as many people as I possibly could. Folks, I might not know everything, but what I can tell you is that understanding what insulin resistance is has changed my entire life. I no longer deal with kidney disease. Think about how many people, right? Here's the thing. Here's something that, and Fidan, thank you so much. Let me say something that might encourage you and maybe wake you up at the same time, right? We all probably think that we have more time. And if that sounds comfortable, good. Because comfort is what keeps people stuck, right? People who believe that tomorrow is guaranteed. Type here if you're listening, okay? We all do this. Tomorrow I'll call. Tomorrow, right? It's the tomorrow trap, right? We keep doing the same things over and over again. But we know that tomorrow's not promised. We know that right now is the only moment that you actually have. And so, you know, one of my new goals, and I know that most of us, if not all of us, have made some New Year's resolutions, and I think about that. And I think about, okay, what are my goals this year? My goals this year is to be intentional. My goal in doing this business is to help 1 million families around the world get their health back. I'm on a mission to help 1 million families, and I can't do it alone. Folks, I love sharing this with people because there's people in my own life that are no longer here because of insulin resistance, right? Most people don't realize that you can reverse insulin resistance. It's preventable. It's not only preventable, but you can fix it. Most of us are on a bunch of meds, okay? And if you're on a med, okay, your body can heal. Our bodies are powerful, right? God knew what he was doing when he created us. And so this is why I share this, okay? People ask me, what is it that I do? And I help people to understand insulin resistance before it shows up as diabetes or high blood pressure or heart disease. You know what's interesting is most people wait for a diagnosis, and I help people to act before that moment, right? Simple habits. real education, long-term health, right? Because here's the thing, right? And here's the truth. Waiting, waiting until tomorrow costs a lot of people a lot of years. Hi, Charlie. What are you doing? What are you doing, sweetheart? Don't bite me. And so, Susie, we're talking about insulin resistance. Okay. We're talking about something that affects 93% of us. This is my, look, hey, what are you doing? That's my coworker this morning. My coworker that likes to sit right next to me. But folks, the reason why I get on here, okay, is to help people understand what we can start doing each day to improve our health, right? And how many of you have ever heard of fasting, right? I know that this sounds tough, right? But here's the trick. If you know that you're going to go longer periods of time without eating food, drink plenty of water, okay? Because often when you feel hungry, your body is just dehydrated. So drink more water, right? Another tip is make sure that your last meal of the day is packed with protein, right? I love rotisserie chicken. I love steak. I love hard boiled eggs. Okay. I love cheese, right? Especially good cheese. I love avocados and scrambled eggs. Okay. These are full of fats and proteins, right? So it keeps you full. So you're not diving into the nuts or the chips, right? Or cereal or muffins, right? You're allowing yourself the opportunity to start healing from the inside out. And Blanca, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's hitting the follow button. Appreciate you. Okay. So your goal, okay, if you have insulin resistance, your goal is to push that first meal back. Okay. Push back that first meal. Okay. And what I mean by that is when you wake up first thing in the morning, avoid breakfast if you can, right? Believe it or not, I know most of us were taught that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. But I want you to know it's not. That's a huge myth, right? That was brought to you by a corporation that wanted to sell you more cereal and bagels. Okay. And I think you know what corporation I'm talking about. Okay. Casper, thank you for the follow. Okay. So it is important, right? Going longer periods of time without putting food in your mouth, without calories, without drinking things that have sugar and carbs. Okay. So remember, the goal is to push back that first meal. Okay. Second, okay, fiber. Here's the deal with fiber, folks. Fiber doesn't turn into other glucose like carbs. It stays fiber. It stays fiber, and that's where the magic happens. Okay. That's where the magic happens, because when you have fiber with your meals, like chia seeds, and Frida and Peter B, thank you for the follow. Okay. What happens is it forms a thick gel in your stomach. And this helps reduce the glucose spikes from any of the foods that you've eaten. Liz Shell, thank you so much. And Dan 065, thank you so much. Gary, I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Guys, if you know that you're going to have a salad or a pizza or a pasta, right? If you know that you're going to have a carb loaded meal, have some salad, have some vegetables, right? When you start your meal with carbs, you wreck your blood sugar, right? Your blood sugar goes up like a roller coaster. But when you have a salad, when you have the right type of fiber, right? Soluble and insoluble, what you're doing is you're creating a barrier, okay? You're creating a barrier that slows down the absorption of the sugar and the carbs from the foods that you eat. Okay? It is like to fill the car with high quality, you have to eat what your body needs for staying healthy. Absolutely. Right? That's a great analogy, right? Folks, if you have a hot rod, okay, and it takes the most supreme fuel, but you put in the lowest grade fuel, does it help to maintain that performance, or does it hurt the engine? Right? It plays a role in what we are putting in our body. To put on, that's perfect. Okay. So, folks, what I encourage people is to get fiber in your diet. And some great sources is broccoli, salad, berries, flax, chia seeds, avocados, artichokes. These are some good sources of fiber. Liz Shell, thank you so much. Thank you. Here's the thing. When fiber is removed from our carbs, like in processed foods, right? You and I, we've probably eaten a lot of processed foods, right? When you do that, okay? Sorry, folks. Okay? We get blood sugar spikes. Because without fiber, what happens is that our body reacts like a roller coaster. You get the blood sugar spikes, followed by the crash that leaves us hungry again. And so what do? We eat more food. Okay? Aladaman, thank you so much. And so, folks, think about this. I got fiber, it runs my, okay, that's a different type of fiber. Nice one, though. Navy, good morning. That was a good one. So, folks, I've only got a couple more minutes because I'm heading to the airport. But I want you guys to understand, at the end of the day, you are either struggling with your health or you have gotten it under control. Folks, if you are on medication, but you're still sick, all you're doing is managing your symptoms. You are not fixing the root cause, right? Fixing the root cause is priority number one. Liz Shell, I don't know who you are. You are amazing. Thank you so much. Okay. It should become our priority number one to get our insulin under control. Folks, I want you guys to pay attention to what your body is telling you. Just like the check engine light in your car, ignoring the signs can make things worse. But when you take action now, you can help prevent more serious health issues later on. Folks, if you think that your doctor has told you that you can't overcome or that there's no point, just don't believe it. Here's what I would tell you. I would tell you to find a different doctor. Okay? Fiber has been removed from so many things, and no, there's no fiber in bread unless you're getting some weird protein. I don't know. There's some people that make some weird products, right? Folks, get fiber in your diet, right? Broccoli, beans, flax, chia seeds, avocados, artichokes. These are some good sources of fiber. Okay. So let's talk about a couple things and then I've got to run. Okay. Our whole body, head to toe, is made up of trillions and trillions of cells, right? And if those cells are healthy, folks, we're healthy. If your cells are sick, you are sick. Okay. When it comes to diabetes and hormone problems, this is where everything starts to break down. Because, here's the problem with type 2 diabetes. Most people don't lack insulin. What blows me away is a type 2 diabetic that's being given more insulin. It doesn't make any sense. Why are we giving a type 2 diabetic insulin? Okay. Folks, most people don't lack insulin. In fact, they have too much of it because your body keeps producing more and more and more insulin just to move the same amount of glucose. This is what puts people at a much greater risk for health issues. Okay. How many of you, when you go to your doctor, they're checking your your blood sugar, your A1C, your cholesterol issues, right? These are things that your doctor will test. But did you guys realize that your doctor, they don't test what they can't medicate? Did you know that? If the doctor cannot prescribe a medication, they don't test you for it. Isn't that interesting? Folks, I want you to know that I love and appreciate the opportunity that I get to come on these lives to share this information. This is impacting so many people's lives. When I get a text message from somebody that's, you know, telling me that this has helped save their life, you can't put a price on that, folks. Some of you might be like, well, how do you do it? Fasting, fiber. These are two things that people can do every day. Now, I use a system. It is a tea and a fiber. Okay, I sip on the tea first thing in the morning. Okay, this is, some of you probably are familiar with to what the Feel Great system is, right? All the bad information, Lachelle, right? Like, we have to unlearn. I mean, if you guys didn't notice, over the last couple days, a new food guide came out. Folks, this is what we've been teaching people for years, right? We were told to start our day with carbs. Folks, how many of you start your day with a bowl of loops of fruit, right? Heart healthy cereal, right? It's not. It actually makes you sick. It actually turns into sugar in your body. There is nothing good that comes out from eating a bowl of cereal or even oatmeal first thing in the morning. You guys realize that some diabetics were told to start their day with oats? Do you guys realize that we fatten up horses with oats? And I know they've changed the food guide, but folks, we were told to have 6 to 11 servings of grains every single day. That's what we feed horse or cows to fatten them up. Folks, when you have fiber first, you are protecting yourself. Okay? I teach people to eat food in this order: fiber first, protein and fats, and save carbs and starches for last. Because that is what's going to have the biggest spike in their blood sugar. But if you've had fiber first, you're protecting yourself. It's like putting on a protective coat. You're keeping yourself warm. Okay? You're preventing yourself. Okay? Folks, this is why I get on here and I share this information. I wish I knew about this 20 years ago. My dad would still be here. My brother would still be here. And I think about this, right? Insulin resistance, folks, it affects so many people. And if you're struggling with your health, and if you're looking for a simple, safe, natural way to start improving it that doesn't require meds and diets, dog lover. No, I'm not saying that you need to eat a salad first, but if you know that you're going to have pizza or pasta, why not have a salad first? Right? Have vegetables, right? And here's the thing, folks. If you just change up the order in which you eat your food, it makes the biggest difference in your glucose spike. It actually is clinically proven to reduce your glucose spike by 43% when you have fiber before your meal. Right? But that's not what they were teaching us, right? They were telling us to start our day with carbs. Folks, if you're starting your day with carbs, you are literally wrecking the rest of your day. Seriously, you will be in a roller coaster of blood sugar spikes throughout the day. Anaki, aloha, right? Now, I don't have a salad before every day, which is why I have this, right? This is a diversified fiber. It's made up of 7 soluble and insoluble fibers. It's the best fiber that I've ever come across. Folks, I've got just a couple minutes. If you have an interest in learning more, there's a lot of content videos that I put out that are very educational. It's helping you to understand, okay, what insulin resistance is, and most importantly, what can I do to start improving this and help other people around me that are struggling with their health as well. Okay. Perfect. Steak and eggs, right? Now, I skip breakfast, right? Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day, folks. Folks, I'm going to be flying to Provo, Utah, okay, in the next couple hours. I'm going to be posting videos. I'm going to try and get on and do a TikTok live. I'm going to try and find times to be able to do that. If there's anything that I can do to help you, please let me know. Okay, I'm going to do my best to get on here and do these lives as best as I possibly can while I'm gone. I want you guys to know that I love and appreciate each and every one of you that shows up. Lundy, Carrie, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who is sharing this, tapping the screen. I appreciate that. Folks, if you're looking for a simple, easy way to improve your health, you just found it, okay? This system is by far the easiest thing I've ever done. It is clinically proven. It's guaranteed to work. In fact, if people are willing to try it, the company gives you 90 days to try it. And if it doesn't work, you just get your money back. Okay? Folks, appreciate you. God bless you. I hope you guys have an amazing